Hey guys, welcome back. Today I want to do something that's pretty simple as a concept for a video, but it leads to a lot of interesting design ideas. So see these two tables here? We have two very different configurations. Basically the same table. This one's got an extra layer for some reason. It's got 3 tiles, whereas this one only has 2. But even that can make it a little bit interesting when we're considering the positioning of the table and the chairs. Okay. So I've done a little bit of setup at my house, guild house, that is. So when we first encounter a table, um, you don't necessarily need to have a chair there, right? You could have a table with a bunch of items on it. You could have a table that's just freestanding. If you like the design, want to make it like a showpiece or an obstacle, you can. But when we move this chair in, it immediately takes on a different appearance. If we take this chair and we put it at the head of the table, when you're sitting on this side, it looks like you're, functioning or interacting with something on this side, but not the other side, right? It's always good to consider if you put it at the top, because of Graal's perspective. We've got a 3/4 perspective. This automatically looks like this chair is a little too far away from the table, and often we'll want to do this. So that you can see that, yeah, the table is up on top of the chair. The chair is lower down than the table in the distance. This is kind of the basis of a lot of the illusion that I do with different furniture. When you have 2 chairs, it changes again. If we have 2 chairs facing across like this, we can technically have it be like an office or like in the bank. That you see that there's one person on one side, they're like the customer or the person who's talking to the person on the other side. However, because we've tucked that chair in and given it the correct perspective, now somebody can't sit there. Not effectively. If we move it back out one, while it's more functional, visually it gets a little bit disturbing. Right? So these are all judgment calls, and it really depends on your style, how you want to keep it when you have, extra chairs. You can even get a little bit more detailed. So we're going to go for 3 and 4 chairs. So here's 3 chairs. This can do a lot for like restaurants, or if you were setting up kind of like a pub or something, you can actually sit this one against the wall, which we'll do here. And you can put these tables against the wall so you get the chair effect, like the chair is just shoved underneath. This one again is a little bit tricky to manage if you're going for that tucked in perspective, especially if your table is layer 0. If we make the table a layer 1, it becomes a little easier to manage, but it doesn't look right. It looks like this chair is jammed under a very short overhang on the table. This one also, you could say, doesn't look right because it's shoved underneath. So we're left with the question of, do we want to have it functionally correct on that top one, or do we want to have it visually correct? I prefer usually the functional correct, like this, so that you can have 3 people seated comfortably at this table. This also is useful when you're talking about the space that players inhabit. So if you want them to be able to reach something on this side of the table but not the other, you could obviously build some kind of a wall or some kind of a partition, something there. Okay. So I'm going to move this table up into here, and we're going to continue. We've got 3 chairs so far. Oops, picked the wrong one there. Okay. So we've got our 3 chairs and our table up here. Okay, so this is obviously just positioned for convenience. If I start moving this around in here, you get a different feel for that table. Like depending on if it's close to a wall, if it's maybe even submerged behind a wall, that's going to get a very different effect. Right? If we keep the table here, it is layer 1, remember? Then it looks like this wall is above, right? There's an overhang or a lip on this wall that's above the layer of the table, because we can't see that well-defined bottom edge. Like it has a bottom edge along here that you can see. If we put it up top here, it looks like it's flush right up against those bricks on the top, and it looks like this platform is lower. So it has the same effect, but it's just a different method to do the same thing, right? If you want to keep it and make it look like the brick wall is above, you can do it here, or you can do it at the top too. What I would say do not do, however, is that don't keep this one underneath, because this will ruin the effect immediately. Now it looks totally different. Nobody's going to sit there, mind you, so, you know, visually correct is okay, but nobody can really reach that spot either. So when we're dealing with 4 chairs, it becomes a little easier to judge where we're going to sit our table. Not there. Forgive me, my laptop mouse tracker okay is less than effective sometimes. Okay, so we have our 3 chairs. It's pretty straightforward, looks pretty good. We can keep our chair on that side. And you know what's actually happening here is we have this 2 space up here. There's actually 2 units of space here, 1 unit of space here, but because this looks like it's underneath, right, because we have that 3/4 perspective and we're just assuming that the other side of these bricks is also there, it makes this look good, right? It looks proper, it looks like it's in the center because of that perspective down here, right? So we can do a lot of things with these too. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of play with the configuration of your chairs, depending on where your table sits or where you want your guests to sit. So we can do like this. Actually, you know what? Let's do like this. So we can do this one on here. And these guys on the ends. Keep one pulled out, one pushed in. You can do that, or we can keep them both pulled out or both pushed in. And it gives that effect like, okay, so that table it has some depth to it when there's something that it's overlapping. It makes it look like there's a height above these chairs that this table is reaching. Right? If we put this in the corner, what then? What will we be seeing? So we've got going to be 2 on one side, or 3 even on one side, and 1 on the end. Here, let's do the 3 on the one. Okay. Put this guy in the middle. Doesn't look so good with this table because of the very prominent legs. It's got prominent legs in this table, but you could probably get away with this better with some of the other designs. Maybe the treasure table, or even just a basic standard table from Red Barn or something. So we could keep this guy over here. And now suddenly we've got 2 and 2. Then the question becomes, do you want to use the half increment? Which you can. It's a little bit tricky, again, with my mouse pad. But this doesn't look right now, does it? It looks like these ones are flush, they're sitting close together, and these guys are not. So we kind of have to do this and move this one down, 1/2 increment down, so it looks like they're doing that too. Right, looks pretty good. The level of detail here is minuscule, but it raises a very good question. And that is, in a house design, when you're building, are you looking for form or are you looking for function? Right? They say that we build a house, a home, a structure, we build it with material, but it's the empty space that we inhabit. You know, you build a house and all the outside walls are all made of stone or brick or wood or whatever you might have. But the inside of that empty space that it creates and cordons off, that's really what we're using. So here as well, in some scenarios, it's going to look better to make it visually perfect or give it the proper perspective. Some furniture doesn't even have the same perspective. But when you look at it, that doesn't necessarily mean that you can interact effectively with it. Like if I was trying to place 2 players here, they'd be pretty crunched up. Over here, it's a little bit more comfortable, and it's just because of the way that these chairs have been drawn. So again, we'll flip that down to the other side. I'm going to go like this, and we're going to put one chair here. Does that look comfortable there? That looks pretty comfortable to me. Looks like even though it's touching that wall at the bottom, because this lip is not shown the bottom part of the table, that it's going to be pretty effective. We can do this. Again, this here. But how does it look when you look at this here? You see, again, we've got that effect. These guys down here look okay because that bottom lip isn't defined. These ones here, they look like they're a half a foot away from the table. So I would be tempted in this scenario to keep it in. Especially when you have other chairs that people can use. Like you know for a fact that somebody else can sit at the end of the table. Oh. Move M. Am I allowed to move it now? Yeah. Okay. Okay, there they go. That's actually a good comparison there. Yeah, so you know that functionally somebody can sit at the larger chair or the chair that's appearing to be larger because it's sitting out from the underside of the table. You can actually come in here and sit. You can actually come in here and walk into this area here because of the bricks and what the bricks are doing. But visually, this looks really nice. Functionally, it's okay because half of your chairs can't be used. But the reality is that most people don't come into a house and sit on the chairs unless it's for function. And again, if you're building for function and not for appearance, then you can go ahead and build all kinds of things that are visually jarring, but have a very nice appearance later on when there's players sitting there. Like if I put my player here, if I put my chair here, put my player here, he's going to block most of the visual representation of that chair, right? He's not going to, oh, yeah, not bad. It looks like he's sitting on it, so that's kind of the benefit. But if I were to move this up one, it'd probably look a lot better. See, it looks like he's ready to eat. Okay. So that's pretty much it for table and chairs. Again, you can see that there's two chairs. This is something that's probably looking a little weird. These guys would have to come up. But there are dozens of different options of things that you could do. Right? For instance, you could just eliminate all the chairs except for one. Leave it sitting under the table like that, and it looks visually awesome. It looks like something that somebody had left just momentarily and came back for. Okay. So I think that's about it for table and chairs. There's a lot of different ways you can lay them out. Another thing that we haven't talked about is diagonal. So keeping one chair about here and one chair about here. And this is a favorite of mine for when we're having conversation. Like if I have some player who wants to talk about something in chat, they might come and sit like this because anything I say, if I chat in here, it's going on this line. But if I'm up here, if I'm sitting at that other chair, it goes up here. So you can both functionally and visually create a nice effect here. If you're allowing players to occupy that space as well as having it be functionally interesting or useful, that's even better. So try and go for that happy medium. I mean, obviously I can't go behind that, but it suggests that distance behind there to the wall. Okay, I'm gonna take off now. Thanks you so much for watching. You guys hopefully enjoyed this, got something out of it. Obviously, tables and chairs aren't the only things that we can fiddle around with to make interesting visual appearances or functional areas in our homes. So happy building, guys. See you next time.